At 4 in the morning, the street outside the club hums with borrowed light. Damir walks it alone, neon bleeding across wet pavement. And somewhere in this city is a door he is sure was never his. His body is tired in a way sleep does not fix. The tiredness of carrying something you never set down. He has always believed there is a door, and always believed it is not for him. A believer, the way he half remembers it, stops 5 times a day to pray. A count he has never once measured himself against. Damir cannot picture himself in any of them. He is out when the faithful sleep, asleep when they rise, ashamed by sunrise. He stands on the wrong side of it, and he stopped knocking a long time ago. But a door that is closed is still a door. And somewhere ahead of Damir, past this last neon corner, there is a morning he does not yet know is waiting, the one that would finally let this street be only a street. The mosque was almost an accident. Damir cut the long way home, and there it was, a low building, its door propped open onto worn carpet at the dawn call. He stepped over the threshold like a man testing cold water, 1 foot only, body still angled toward the street. He did not kneel. He did not know how, not anymore. He kept his weight on his back foot, sure the club still clung to his jacket. An old man sat near the wall, hands folded over a cane. He did not turn toward the door, and he did not need to. Then he spoke, without turning his head. "You have been standing at the door a long time," he said, "longer than the few minutes you have been inside it." Damir went cold. He had made no sound. The old man had named, without cruelty, the shame he carried in, and Damir found that he could not make his back foot move. The old man did not ask Damir to sit, and did not ask him to leave. He simply began, the way a man begins who has told a thing many times and still means it. Scholars, he said, trace a word for the door Damir would not knock on, Tawbah, and its root, they say, is not confession at all. It means to turn back. Not one terrible sentence spoken once, a returning, the way a road bends home. "You think the door is closed," the old man said, still not turning his clouded eyes. "The door is not closed. Your idea of it is closed." And there it was. He had named the wrong thing on purpose. Not Damir, not the club on his jacket, not the years. Only the belief he had carried in over the threshold, set down now like a coat that was never really his. A verse he had leaned on for years, he said, put it plainly. The mercy of Allah is wider than any record, so do not despair of it. He spoke it plainly, the way you set down a cup someone has been thirsty for. It is one of the passages people reach for first, he said, precisely for the man who is certain he has gone too far, because that man is the one it was written toward. Damir stood very still. The shame he had smelled on himself all morning did not vanish, but it had stopped being a wall. It had become, without his noticing, only a distance left to walk. Then Damir's weight came off his back foot at last, and it went the wrong way, a half step back toward the threshold, back toward the bright doorway and the man he already was. Counselors and imams who work that doorway say the same. Rarely is it disbelief that keeps a man out. It is shame, which heals in company. It is shame. He was not afraid of God. He was afraid of the record, the years, the nights, the ledger of himself he was certain no returning could ever balance. Then the master, blind to the leaving, spoke to it anyway. Many scholars, he said, teach that a sincere turning back wipes the record clean, though they differ on what sincere must mean. Not paid down, and scholars set conditions on that. Real sorrow, leaving the sin, sometimes making the wronged party whole, erased, the way morning owes nothing to the night it followed. And the weight Damir had guarded, the thing he thought made him too heavy to return, was the very thing allowed to fall. He turned his shoulder back into the room. It was 1 foot set down, on purpose, on the worn carpet, the first step of a road with only one direction. The foot was down, but Damir did not know what to do with the rest of himself. He had not knelt in years. The master undid a big fear with a small thing. Even after years away, one prayer is a beginning. Part of Damir doubted it could be that easy, and here was the part that surprised him. "It is not meant to stay alone," the master said. "On Fridays, 100 knees bow on one worn carpet, a crowd built so a man can slip back in without ever explaining where he had been." What Damir thought was a solitary confession turned out to be a door into a room already full. So he did the only thing left. He lowered himself among the few still bent in the light, the first of the 5 daily prayers he had never once pictured himself keeping. It was clumsy, but clumsy and begun was the whole point. When Damir finally lifted his forehead from the carpet, nothing had happened. No light broke, no voice answered. There was only the master beside him and the ordinary hush of the room. But that, the old man seemed to know, was the whole shape of it. Change rarely arrives as thunder. It arrives as a man who came back once and finds he can come back again tomorrow. The master returned him to his first words. The door was never shut, only his idea of it, and behind it the room had been full all along. The record he was certain no returning could balance was already behind him, owed nothing by the morning that came after it. By the time he stepped back out, the dawn had gone soft, and the street that had frightened him at 4 in the morning was only a street. He knew the returning would be uneven. He was not the first to stand at that door and think it locked, and he would not be the last. The old man had watched plenty turn and come in. Damir was simply early. He was only someone who had set one foot down on purpose and found the door left quietly open. That was all the blind master showed him. What street are you still walking alone at 4 in the morning, sure the door there was never yours?